Didn't even wear my Wisconsin stuff today.
Live from the Civic Media Studios at WRCE in Richland Center, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with our outstanding producer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is Thursday, the 20th of March, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. And yes, even though it doesn't feel like it in much of Wisconsin, it is actually the first day of spring. Welcome in, everybody. We are on location here at the beautiful WRCE studios in the old hometown of Richland Center, Wisconsin. Also the sister station WRCO, where it all began for Toddster back in the ancient times of 1987. No, always great to be back here. Saw station manager Phil Nee a little while ago, and the great staff here, and many thanks to Phil for allowing us to be here and setting up for a couple of days. Mr. Zommers, we are on location. You are back at the world headquarters in downtown Madison in the engineering studio, but our main broadcast studios are undergoing an upgrade. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Look at the construction work going on back home. Look, that's incredible.
The giant table is now set up. Everything else is still being worked on, but yeah. I'm sure that was a big enough project in and of itself that they did all last night. So good job to the engineering team.
Well, yes, many thanks to our wonderful and fine engineering team. And they're remodeling the studios, upgrading it. So we look forward to being back there on Monday. But we're up here in Richland Center for a couple of days and always glad to be here. Lots going on today. In the second hour of the show, we'll turn our attention to a little state politics. And of course, the April 1st spring election coming up in Wisconsin. The chairman of the Democratic Party in Wisconsin, Ben Wickler, will be here and talk a little bit of strategy and what he anticipates and the state of the Wisconsin Democratic Party. But right now, we turn our attention to what I think most people in the state of Wisconsin are thinking about right now, and that is what I hold in my hot little hands. An NCAA bracket. It is tournament time, March Madness time. The Wisconsin Badgers get underway here in less than a half an hour at 12:30. And just in case folks are wondering, if you're used to streaming the Badgers on the Civic Media app, and I think I might have messed this up earlier in the week when I plugged it, because of the NCAA and their contracts and the dollar sign, and Westwood One has the exclusive rights to stream the NCAA games during the tournament in March Madness. So therefore, we at Civic Media are not able to stream the Badger game on the Civic Media app as you've been accustomed to throughout the regular season and the Big Ten tournament. The good news is, if you live here in Richland Center or Southwest Wisconsin, you can hear it on AM 1450 or 107.7 on the FM dial. It's also being broadcast over the air on WFHR up in beautiful Wisconsin Rapids and also up in Amory, up at our station up there. So if you're in those communities, you can hear it over the broadcast air. Otherwise, you got to turn on the old TNT, or like I have got it on right now on YouTube TV. And here to talk about the big tournament coming up, or the already underway here, and the Badgers. He joins us normally on Fridays, but by golly, he's such a nice guy. He has rearranged his schedule to join us today on Thursday, and he's just across town. He's a very busy guy. You understand? Three-time champion with the Wisconsin Badger football team. Spent 3 years in the NFL. Mr. Brady Ewing. Brady, how the heck are you?
Doing great, Todd and Aaron. Good to see you guys.
It's always great to see you.
Yeah, I couldn't handle the 5-minute drive across town to get to RCO amidst my busy schedule today. So thanks for making it work over StreamYard.
Thank you for making it work. We appreciate you checking. I wanted to check in with you because this is such a busy time of the year. Of course, as a Badger alum on the football side, we've talked about this briefly before, but you actually had a kind of a tough choice to make because Bo Ryan and then assistant Greg Gard, they were actually recruiting you. You were a walk-on in football, but they were recruiting you to be a walk-on for Wisconsin basketball, correct?
They were. Yeah, it was something that I'd say early in my high school career, if I would have said I had that opportunity, it was something I would have thought I would have jumped at. Mm-hmm. And as I got more and more exposure to football and recruited in that realm, I just felt like I had more of an opportunity to succeed and contribute to the Badger teams there. But no doubt, I think I could have probably figured out a way to get on the court for the Badgers, given their walk-on tradition there and some of the others that had come before and laid a great foundation. So tough decision. At one point, they were talking about trying to do both. That was something I didn't necessarily want to take that on endeavor. But yeah, happy with my decision and really cool to see how that helped develop relationships with Greg Gard and some of the coaching staff there now. Pretty cool.
Yeah. I know you stay in touch with Coach Gard, some of the people at the basketball team. I mean, they had a heck of a run this year. They were picked by the preseason media folks to finish 12th in the conference. They ended up finishing just outside of 4th at 5th at the very end. They got that 5th seed in the Big Ten tournament when all beat the number 1 seed, Michigan State, also beat UCLA and Northwestern along the way, and came up, I think, what was it, 5 or 6 points short against Michigan in the championship game there, Brady. But boy, 4 games in 4 days. I just thought by Sunday, I just thought the Badgers looked gassed.
Yeah, I'd agree. I was thinking about what we'd likely talk about today, and that was what came to my mind too. It is so hard to sustain that level of play, and it's something that I haven't necessarily had to do in the football realm, but to play top tier talent where it's a winner, quote unquote, go home type situation. Back to back to back, that is a tough run. And I think it would have been really, in hindsight, it would have been really awesome to win a couple of those conference games down the stretch and get that first round bye that we didn't end up getting. I think that would have been huge for the Badger, given how things transpired.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, just think about that. I mean, they don't drop the home loss at the end of the season to Penn State. Maybe they get the 4 seed, they get that double bye. They're playing 3 games instead of 4. Could have made the difference, as I say, you'll never know. But I mean, I think as I look at this bracket here, and I feel we have a Civic Media Pool bracket, I will disclose to you what my final 4 are and how far I have the Badgers going. But I think as I look at some of these teams that they're set to play, you look at a potential Alabama matchup in the Sweet 16, and then if they would win there, potentially a Duke matchup. I think if you said, hey, during the normal course of the season, could the Badgers match up on any given night? I think they proved by beating Michigan State, which I think is one of the best teams in the country, that they can play with anybody on any given night. It's just a matter of coming off that 4-game streak or that 4 game in a row in Indianapolis. Now, a lot of people thought they got the 3 seed. Oh, great, they'll be at home. One of the regionals is in Milwaukee. But no, the NCAA sends them out to Mile High City in Denver. Did you ever play in Denver, Brady, in your NFL career?
I did not, but I spent some time out there at a Christian camp that I did and spent some time at altitude with that. And it was a crazy adjustment for like 3 to 4 days. So I'm interested. I haven't heard anybody report on it, but I'm interested if the Badgers tried to get out to that area quicker than normal, get a couple days to acclimate to that altitude. I'm not sure if that's the case, but a lot of teams in the NFL do that as well. And then you'll always see the oxygen tanks on the sideline too for guys after they have a big run or a big defensive stand. Typically they show them sucking down oxygen.
Yeah, right. As you look at the potential matchups here, the Badgers got sent to the East region, and they match up today against number 14 seeded Montana, the Grizzlies. If they would win today, they would play then against the winner of BYU VCU. I saw that VCU game where they won their conference at the last minute. VCU, to me, is a dangerous one of those. It looks like a quintessential Badger killer. They're quick. They play without abandon. They can shoot. I'm nervous, Brady.
Was that the game right ahead of the Badgers?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, it was VCU
I think on Sunday or maybe Saturday.
Yeah, I forget who VCU beat, but it went right down to the last 40, 30 seconds, whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, you start looking at the bracket. And everyone looks at the ranking numbers, and you can usually click in depending on which service you're using to get more details on points allowed per game and different stats that help you make your decision. But there are no gimmies this time of year, whether it's a 6 versus 11 with BYU or a 3 versus 14 like Wisconsin and Montana. There are no gimmies because everybody is coming in with their head held high. They know that it's going to be a dogfight game in and game out, and it's going to come down to who shows up. We struggled in that championship game of the Big Ten Kanye didn't show up. People were a little bit flat, didn't have their legs underneath them, and it just ended up being a battle. And hopefully Tanya and Blackwell and others can have a good run here the next few games.
Yeah. Did you do a bracket this year, Brady?
I did.
All right.
I did. I got the Badgers going to the Sweet 16.
Very good, very good. I filled out the bracket for the office and for the show, and then there's also kind of like, so maybe that's slightly unrealistic, and then there's like, well, how far does Todd really think they're going to go? So on my bracket, just for the fun of it, I have them facing Tennessee in the semifinals of the Final Four, losing to Tennessee. And then I have Michigan State versus Tennessee, with Michigan State winning it all. But I have the Badgers just because how rich would it be for Wisconsin to get some cold revenge against Duke?
Man, we're due for it.
Right,
we're due for it.
So I have the Badgers in the Final Four, but because again, I think on any given day they can play with Alabama. And here, let me ask you this real quick. As a professional athlete, as a college athlete, you look at officiating. A lot of people have said that in the SEC, by the way, they got 14 teams in the tournament, a record this year, and the SEC officials are letting their guys play this year. They're not calling these games tight. And there's a theory out there that these SEC teams like Alabama, Tennessee, when they get into this tournament, these officials are going to call this game tighter, and they're going to run into foul trouble. Is that just, nuts, or is there something to that, you think?
I think there could be something to it. I haven't watched a ton of SEC games to make that kind of observation myself, but I'd say if you're used to whatever end of the spectrum the officiating is calling the game, yes, to go in, and I think each game you kind of readjust to what the officials are doing early on. So no doubt, maybe I'd say 4 or 5 minutes up into that first TV timeout may have an impact, but my thing with officiating is, as long as you're calling it consistent across the board, obviously both sides of the ball, but across the board for the duration of the game, I think that's the biggest thing to adjust to that throughout the game. So I don't see it being a huge impact, but maybe just the beginning of the game.
So you're saying, Brady, if I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if officials would call a game, say, against Duke one way in the first half and then completely different in the second half, that would be frustrating to you.
That would be very frustrating. You do see that a lot. I feel like the officials get together at halftime, they come out, they make adjustments, they start tightening it up, or there's been like a little scuffle, and they want to get the game back under control.
Of course, I refer to the 2015 game where the officials hosed Wisconsin against Duke because Mike Krzyzewski threatened them at halftime. Only Todd's assumption. We'll come back, ask Brady what athletes go through in postseason versus the regular season, and more. We're live from Richland Center. WRCE is the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Not that I'm still bitter or anything.
Yeah, that one's stuck in your craw, Todd.
When I started watching more basketball, I was just astounded by how political it seems. I mean, you can't prove this, but it really feels like the refs are out to make sure they get to play all the games in each series. And they're like, okay, you win tonight, you win tomorrow. Sometimes it feels like that.
I think there's something to make up calls in basketball, don't you, Brady?
You see it. I mean, at the end of the day, refs are human. Are human. So I think it's human. Yeah, obviously. At least now, maybe they'll be robots eventually. But yeah, they're human. So I think if they make a call and they mess something up, there's even subconsciously they probably want to make up for it.
David New Berlin checking into the text line. He says he doesn't like basketball. Well, I'm sorry, Dave. That's what we're talking about today.
He also says it in the third person. He says, Dave from New Berlin doesn't like basketball.
We still like you, Dave. It's okay.
Letters and calling voters with curable signature issues, more training on signature verification.
Yeah, so my Final Four is Wisconsin, Tennessee, Michigan State, and St. John's. But already my bracket is in major trouble because Creighton is leading Louisville 49-34 at the half, and I have Louisville in the Elite Eight.
Ooh, I have Louisville winning that game, but I am losing to Auburn.
Well, you're smarter than me, see?
If you love animals,
Thank you, that's right.
At one of Dane County Humane Society's thrift stores. They sell gently used and new clothes, home goods, toys, furniture, and more. All proceeds support the
So our boys filled out some brackets too, and it sounds like Brom, our 4-year-old, had Wisconsin
15
going all
seconds.
the way, winning it all.
Good for him. Good for him.
He's
All
a
right,
homer
All right,
already.
here we go.
Here we go.
Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. We got the real jam going down. Welcome to the Space Jam. Here's your chance, do your dance at the Space Jam. Alright.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. We are live on location in Richland Center, the beautiful studios of WRCE, the old hometown here, joined by my fellow Richland Center native, Brady Ewing, a 3-time Big Ten champion with Wisconsin Badger football, also as a captain of the team during that time and spent 3 years in the National Football League for Atlanta and Jacksonville, respectively. He normally joins us every other Friday, but working us into his schedule this week, and we appreciate that. Timely indeed, as the NCAA tournament is underway. Brady, as we were talking about over the break there, my bracket already in trouble as I have Louisville, because I thought, well, they got kind of got a raw deal on their seed. They got an 8 seed, and they're playing against number 8 Cretin. And I thought, well, they got Chucky Hepburn, former Badger, who's played pretty well this year. So I have Louisville in the Elite 8 taking on Michigan State, with Michigan State beating them there. Cretin leads Louisville 49-34 at the half. So
Yeah, your bracket might be blown up like a lot of other people's. So
not looking good. So yeah, I have my final four is Michigan State, St. John's, Wisconsin, and Tennessee. And you?
I like it. I got Michigan State, Florida, Duke, and Kentucky.
Yeah,
So I got Duke winning it all.
Do you really?
Unfortunately, yeah.
I think that's actually a pretty good pick. And I don't have any money on the line, but I think, that's another thing. People, there are huge amounts of money. I mean, Vegas just does millions and millions of dollars this time of year. Because people are betting on everything, right? Like which team's gonna score first, which player. Every single thing in sports now, there's some kind of bet for it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I haven't dabbled in that world at all, but it's even the Super Bowl, to see all the different things they bet on, from the national anthem length to the coin toss to the Gatorade at the end of the game. It's like, I guess it keeps people engaged and having fun with it. As one positive.
You're right about that. Talk to us for a couple minutes, Brady, as someone who played in 3 Rose Bowls, who spent time in that postseason for the Wisconsin Badgers, who are traveling out to Denver and getting ready to play here at the bottom of the hour against Montana. What is that mindset like for an athlete from a preparation standpoint? How does it change from the regular season into the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, the NCAA tournament is unique in itself, but the mindset from an athlete standpoint is, especially if you're an underclassman, you want to give that upperclassman the best experience possible. You want to send them out on a high note. I know that was the case for bowl games. And so everybody's competition, not only for yourself, for the team, for the university, that's all pretty standard, but you're playing for your person next to you. And so I look at some of those key guys on the basketball team now, and some of the younger tier guys, is I'm sure they're going to be playing their butts out, obviously for Wisconsin, but for their teammates like Tanya and others, that this is their final run at it. And that brings the level of competition up, and let alone the national stage, everybody living out their dreams of playing in the NCAA tournament. It's a pretty special time of year.
Yeah, it really is. And we talked about Gilmore last time, and some of these Badgers have been around for a while that earned these, as you did, went from a walk-on to a scholarship player, and now are these leaders. I'm just so happy to see those guys. And again, we've talked about this before, but teams where it's now all about one and done, basically, with NIL and transfer portal. Wisconsin and Greg Gard have found a way to do a hybrid of that, at least for now.
Yes.
Bringing a guy like Tanji in for John Tanji for probably the best transfer of the entire year in the entire league.
Absolutely.
But keeping guys like Klesmit and Gilmore and those guys around and bringing them up.
Yeah, that's huge. I think that it's cool to see that, because we've talked a lot through our times together talking about the football team and NIL, transfer portal, and how that's changing and evolving college sports. And I feel like Wisconsin has done a good job recruiting and finding talent that can come be plug and play. but still maintain that culture of development, the culture that the team has, and the identity that's been Wisconsin basketball. It still feels like we have that. And it's been so fun to watch those guys go compete this year as a team. It's not yet. There's guys that shine. Sometimes it was Gilmore. Sometimes it was Tanya. Other times it was McGee and Blackwell. I mean, you can go down the line. They all had their games, but they found a way to keep a team, and you can tell they're having fun doing it together, which as a fan and I guess a former athlete myself, that's really cool to see because that's what college athletics is all about. And I feel like we're still seeing a glimmer of that with Wisconsin basketball.
Yeah, totally agree. About 3 minutes left. We're talking to Brady Ewing, former Wisconsin Badger football player, and spent 3 years in the NFL. Also is still involved here locally in southwest Wisconsin in helping youth in their sports as well. Badgers play Montana at the bottom of the hour in select stations over the air. We cannot stream it due to NCAA rules on the Civic Media app. But Brady, let's bring it back the last 3 minutes or so, a little bit closer to home here. Exciting time of the year. It is state tournament time. We had the girls up in Green Bay last week. I was up in Shawano, and my stepmom went into Green Bay, and she said it is nuts around the Resch Center. And this weekend, it's time for the boys down at the Kohl Center.
Yeah, just wait till the NFL draft up there in about a month. It's going to be a madhouse. But yeah, it's super cool time of year to see those high school athletes that have worked so hard, throughout their careers throughout this year to get a chance to play in the state tournament. And that's actually why I can't come on the show with you tomorrow, Todd, is I'm taking a couple of our boys down tomorrow morning to take in, I think, Division 5 games, I believe they are, in the morning session. So excited to see that. Excited that'll be their first experience in person doing that. And just an awesome stage.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's so cool that you're taking a couple of your boys down there because, it's nice for them to see that atmosphere. I mean, for me, I've had the privilege over the years of getting to broadcast some state wrestling tournaments and been involved in basketball playoffs. And to see the atmosphere, not just the kids playing, but the atmosphere, the bands and the community turn up. It truly is, I think, what part of what makes Wisconsin great, this community spirit. It's one of the things, Brady, that still brings us together.
It is. And I never had the awesome opportunity to play in a state championship, I guess outside of track and field in a way. But to see my sister, when she was in school, their team went to state a couple times, and to see that from Richland Center and this greater Richland County area to rally around that team, everybody rocked their T-shirts, welcoming them back and celebrating what they were able to accomplish with, fire trucks and different things like that. It just so moving to see how everybody comes together to encourage and support something in the community that is pretty important.
Yeah, that's super important. Brady, we appreciate you taking time in your busy schedule for us, and maybe I'll see you around the neighborhood. I'm up here for a couple of days, so who knows? I'll be at Los Amigos. So
ooh, that's our go-to.
Very good, Brady.
Enjoy.
We thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, my friend. All right,
thanks,
take
Todd.
care. Come on back. We'll take a look at news headlines after this. We're in Richland Center. We're on Civic Media on the Civic Media Radio Network.
For Madison, real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
Food insecurity is always a huge topic whenever people are thinking of the growing world population. Well, one county here in Wisconsin is aiming to make sure that everyone in their community is able to get a nutritious meal every day. I'm Ben Jarbo with the Midwest Farm Report, and Jennifer Glad, the executive director of the Golden Sands Resource Conservation and Development Council, was a key component at creating the Giving Farm. And she is going to explain what all she thinks it'll take to turn this endeavor into a success.
But I think it's going to take a lot of people. I mean, the primarily, lead organizations that have stepped up is our organization, Partners HP, the city of Stevens Point, with being open to the lease.
You want to mention Just a Bit Outside, now available, soon available on Roku.
Yeah, on Roku. Yeah, coming up on, I just talked to Kelly. I think he and Sean are both going to, what?
And we're looking for other
April 11th.
Yeah, I think they're going to be on the show with us on the 4th, on Friday the 4th when they're in town. They're going to stop by
awesome,
the
yeah.
studios.
The festival
Glad
starts
says
the
that
day
she
before
hopes
that, I think,
others
so
across
that's great.
the state of Wisconsin see what they are doing and implement it into their communities to help food security around the state. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Ben Jarbo, and we'll take a look at those midday markets right after this.
$1 billion. That's how much equipment is stolen from U.S. construction sites every year. These thieves are stalling projects, hurting Wisconsin's family-owned businesses, and driving up costs for everyone. Judge Brad Schimmel takes theft seriously. He holds criminals accountable and protects the people
casinos
who are
or the
just trying to
lottery.
do their
All right.
jobs. Call Judge Schimmel and thank him for protecting us. Paid for by the Associated Builders and Contractors of Wisconsin.
$100 billion.
The Midwest Farm Report and the National
Oh, do you see we also have the details of the Text to Win contest? Or at least some of them?
Eye on the sky this season.
Yeah, let me.
You can help by taking
Were
real-time
those in
weather
the
observations
general
on your
chat, or
phone
where were
and
those at?
alerting the National Weather Service about severe weather occurring where you are. Volunteer weather observers play an important role
Team
in tracking
Talk.
and relaying vital
Team
weather
Talk.
information.
All right,
To find
thank
out how
you.
you can become a citizen scientist, visit WisconsinWeatherWatchers.org.
We'll have to figure out what
I'm
theme
Ben
we want to
Jarbo with
use.
the Midwest
Yeah.
Farm Report. Let's take a look at the markets. There's a mix in the markets today as cash corn is up 4 3/4.
And then,
up
you know, it's
4.66
spring, so I've got this
3/4,
sound
with
effect.
new crop corn up 1 1/4, up
Definitely
4.52
only has to do
3/4.
with spring.
Cash soybeans are
Spring
down
is
1/4
spring,
at
that's what it's
10.08,
about.
With new crop soybeans down
Absolutely
3
about
3/4
spring.
at 10.06 1/4. May wheat
Wait, did you say
contracts are down
springs?
7.5 at 5.55, and July wheat is down 7 at 5.73. Class 3 milk for April is up 14 cents at 17.20 a hundredweight, and May contracts are up 21 cents.
For those
at
watching the stream, if you've been
17.47
wondering what the grand prize
For the
is,
Midwest Farm
if you've been
Report,
sleeping
I'm
on that
Ben
idea, you
can
will
always continue the
soon discover.
conversation on social
Rest easy.
media.
We'll tell you what it is.
Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
Sunny and still breezy today, with winds out of the northwest keeping our highs to the mid-30s. It'll be partly sunny tomorrow, breezy, but those winds are going to warm us up to the low 50s. Few spotty sprinkles are possible late at night, but for Saturday, plenty of sunshine and highs in the mid-40s. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently, it's 32 degrees.
Transform your outdoor space with David J. Frank, Wisconsin's award-winning landscape management company for 65 years. You've seen their beautiful work at Hilldale Shopping Center. From expert lawn care to seasonal flower beds, precise trimming and sustainable solutions. David J. Frank makes your vision a reality. And right now is the best time to prune or remove trees. Request your free quote today at davidjfrank.com and get on their list for spring cleanups. David J. Frank, 65 years of excellence in every blade of grass.
The Verlo Mismatch Sale is back. It's our biggest sale of the year. Mismatch on the outside, the same Verlo long-lasting craftsmanship on the inside, and it's backed by our lifetime
Interesting
comfort
ad.
guarantee. So hurry in now for
30 seconds.
additional
Thank
savings
you.
on every mattress and box spring.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along here. Mr. Zommer's on the board back at the World Headquarters in Madison. We are on location at WRCE, one of our great stations here in southwest Wisconsin in Richland Center, while the home station, the home studio, back on State Street, undergoing some remodeling. Very excited about that. So we'll be back home with Zommer's on Monday. At least that's the anticipation, Aaron.
Yes, that is the anticipation.
Many thanks to Brady Ewing for being here. Always does a great job. We appreciate him fitting in the schedule this week a day early on Thursday. And by the way, again, for those that might be tuning in on the stream on certain channels on the Civic Media app, looking for the Badger game, Unfortunately, due to NCAA rules and other agreements, legalities, always comes down to the lawyers, right? And also money. Well, Civic Media is not allowed to stream the Badger game on the Civic Media app. However, if you live in Southwest Wisconsin, here in Richland Center, or also up in Wisconsin Rapids for WFHR, or in Amory for WLAK, you can tune into those stations over the air on the broadcast station, and we are carrying the Badger game over the air there. Otherwise, you'll have to find it on, YouTube TV or whatever. They're playing on TNT. The game is just underway right now. We'll bring you updates throughout the afternoon. I can tell you that right now, with about 17 minutes and 45 seconds left, it is Cretin leading Louisville by a score of 56-37. Ouch. Todd's bracket is already going to take a hit there. And another game a lot of people were looking at, thinking maybe a big upset. Purdue versus High Point. Number 4 seeded Purdue, number 13 High Point, and that one is just at halftime right now. Can tell you that Purdue leads High Point by a score of 37-27. So Purdue has a 10-point lead at the half. Game's just about to get underway. As we said, Wisconsin, number 3 seed in the East, takes on number 14 Montana. No score there yet. And also SIU Edwards, the 16 seed, taking on number 1 seed Houston. That game is going to get underway here in just a bit. We'll give you updates throughout the show here on this, as a lot of people, as we say, are following brackets today. But Mr. Zommers, some exciting news for those of us who like contests, games, and the like. It looks like we have another text to win contest coming up very soon here, right?
We sure do, and we finally have details to share with people.
That's awesome. Here we are now. So get ready for this, because starting on Monday, Civic Media's next statewide text to win contest. We have to tell you, by the way, it is a statewide contest. It's right around the corner. So be sure to tune in at 7 a.m. on Monday for your first chance to listen for a keyword to enter in for your chance to be an hourly winner or enter to win the grand prize. You'll have 4 chances to enter. You can listen at 7 a.m., at 11 a.m. on Jane Matt Nair's show, Matt Nair on Air, and then at 1 p.m. right here on our show, and at 4 o'clock throughout both 2 weeks. Or I'll try that again, Todd. Throughout the next 2 weeks for the statewide text to win contest. Now get this, going to be daily chances to win a Chula Vista getaway. And we had that before. I mean, who doesn't like that? It's in the Wisconsin Dells. They have indoor water parks. They have golf courses. Every activity you can imagine for the family. Also going to be giving away Milwaukee Brewer club level tickets. And
Those
again,
are nice tickets.
As Amers and I have been there, we're not talking about, and really there's no bad seat at AmFam Field, but what we're talking about here, these are the club level, which sits right below the suites. And so you have a private entry up into the club level. Guess what? It's air conditioned on the inside behind the seats. You can go in. There's concessions and bathrooms just for the club level section where it is air conditioned if it happens to be super hot. And, it's just nice. The seats are cushiony. They have arms on them. You're sitting right on the third base line. You can see into the Brewers dugout. They are fantastic seats. So I'm going to be giving a chance to win Milwaukee Brewer club level tickets. Get this. Also, $100 in cash. Who doesn't like cold hard cash these days? Plus, every entry for the next 2 weeks puts you into our grand prize drawing. And here it is, a brand new queen size mattress set from Verlo Mattress. That's fantastic, right? I know, fantastic. I cannot wait, because really, I mean, we've been talking about this for a while. Everybody needs a good night's rest. So I think that's a thing, right? We were talking about this trivia yesterday.
Yeah, we've also talked about what's worse, neck pain and back pain. You know what helps both? A good mattress.
A great Verlo mattress, and that is going to be the grand prize this time around. You can download the Civic Media app and be listening starting at 7 a.m. on Monday, March 24th, for your first chance to text in the hourly keyword and be entered to win. And here's something that's not on the given text, but I'll tell you anyway. If you enter during our show, you actually have a better chance to win.
The lawyers are staring daggers at me right now. And if looks could kill through computers, they would be affecting you.
Wait, that's not true?
This is not true. No.
Oh, it's not true. It turns out it's
equal odds.
It's equal odds. I just like to think that people's chances are better when they enter during our show. But no, it's equal odds. Tune in throughout the entire day. And remember, because keep me honest here, Zombers, people can enter on each show, right?
Oh, yeah. You can get 4 entries a day. And there may be other alternate ways. In the past, we've had like follow certain accounts on social media. By certain accounts, I mean civic media accounts, not completely random things. Or registering to vote or things like that. So at least 4 entries every day that you can make.
See, I think that's fantastic. So tune in. It's going to be another great text to win contest. Looking forward to that. How about a birthday, Mr. Zommers, as we're here at Richland Center? This will be great. Talking about birthdays today. Fred Rogers, a.k.a. Mr. Rogers, was born on this day, the 20th of March, back in 1928. Guess, you remember Mr. Rogers. I mean, you certainly had to see him growing up, right? How long ago did he pass away? Take a guess without Googling it up.
I remember when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that long ago. I am going to guess 2016.
2016. So I can't do math in my head, but
that's 9 years ago.
I know, right? Thank you. I would have said close. I would have said like 8 to 10 years ago. I would have said that he passed away. He died 22 years ago. But his legacy,
so I don't remember it, but I was alive.
But his legacy is still making life better for a lot of us. I can't believe Mr. Rogers has been gone 22 years. He was best.
You know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of when the movie with Tom Hanks playing him came out.
Right, yeah, no. I mean, I think it's because he's so ingrained in American culture, we just like to think that he's always with us, right?
Right.
Yeah. Of course, he was best known as the host of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He was also a songwriter and author. He left us with some great truths, such as these. I have a few quotes here by Fred Rogers. The first one, there are 3 ways to ultimate success. The first way is to be kind. The second way is to be kind. The third way is to be kind. That's pretty good, isn't it? We need more of that. What do you remember about Fred Rogers? If you remember him, watching him on the public television network, perhaps you saw him other places, but memories of Fred Rogers today. Give us a call, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Fred Rogers, a lasting, indelible mark on American society. A few more of these quotes while we wait for calls here. When we love a person, we accept him or her exactly as is. The lovely with the unlovely, the strong with the fearful, the true mixed in with the facade, and of course, the only way we can do it is by accepting ourselves that way. Fred Rogers. Zommers, I'm reading on a different screen here, so if you have a call, just jump in because I'm not looking at you right now. Give us a call. Memories of Fred Rogers.
One of my biggest takeaways of seeing that show when I was younger, once I was, conscious enough to know the difference between what's on the screen, a lot of shows made for kids when I was growing up and now are super overstimulating. They just put so much stuff on the screen and so many sounds to keep kids' attention. And Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood kept my attention because it was the opposite. It was such a quiet show, not just in matter of noise, but in tone and quiet and gentle, and it was captivating in a different way.
That's such a great point. And there's so much truth to that he spoke quietly but directly, and you always felt as a kid, at least I did, that he was talking to you. And so I thought that's a really great point. Mr. Sommers. Memories of Fred Rogers, who would have been celebrating a birthday today, but he left us 22 years ago. Memories on Fred Rogers, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. You can also text us on the Civic Media app. Dave in New Berlin asks, any chance Mr. Rogers ever cursed? I say absolutely not. I don't, I mean, he was also, a lot of people didn't know this, he was actually an ordained minister as well. Not to say that ministers don't ever cuss, but I just don't think it was in his vernacular day in and day out. Chris, Mr. Casper, that is, also tuning in on WMDX saying, Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood on Saturday Night Live was hilarious, right? That absolutely was. Eddie Murphy playing Mr. Robinson on Saturday Night Live. By the way, Casper, one of our fine engineers, is working on the studio back home. We appreciate all of our great engineers. Llama, listening on WMDX in Madison, said Mr. Rogers was amazing. He showed me it was okay to feel. That's another great point, right? Give us a text or a call, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. A few more quotes here from Fred Rogers, who would have celebrated a birthday today. Here's another one. Quote, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. That's something we've said on this show quite a few times, and it's so true, especially in these troubled times. If you want to find hope, if you want to feel a little bit better about a tragedy, look for people who are helping. EMTs, firefighters, law enforcement, volunteers, World Food Kitchen, people who are just out there being humans to each other.
Another Fred caller. We have Barbara in Madison calling with her thoughts about Mr. Rogers.
Fantastic. Barbara in Madison on WMDX. Barbara, thanks for calling in. What have you got?
Well, I just love Mr. Rogers, but particularly because my daughter was colicky, and she would keep me up all night long, and I would be exhausted, and we would sit on the couch, and we would watch Mr. Rogers, and she would finally stop screaming.
Wow.
So I don't know if that was a coincidence,
right,
but it sure was a lifesaver for me.
Absolutely. I think, but again, it goes to Sommer's point. He just had one of those voices where it was soothing and healing, and you felt better just by listening to him, right?
Right, and my daughter would, she would just stop crying, and she would just be looking at the TV, and I thought, all right, Mr. Rogers, you go.
he was doing a little babysitting for you as well. That's great. Thank you. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon. 855-752-4842 if you want to weigh in on thoughts of Mr. Rogers. 855-752-4842. Remembering him today. A few more quotes here as we approach the break. We'll come back and update you on the Badgers, as well as give you some good feel-good news. We have Ben Wickler coming up at the bottom of the next hour, the chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party. Here's another Mr. Rogers quote for you. The connections we make in the course of life, maybe that's what heaven is. Wow. That's a good one, right? Maybe it's just all the good people around us. Sometimes there's a phrase, there is heaven on earth, and it's all those helpers, all those great people around us. We're live from Richland Center on a Thursday, the first day of spring, March 20th. Come on back. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Won't you be my neighbor? My neighbor? I'm glad we're together again.
Madison's Real News and Great Conversation, 92.7 WMDX.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD...
Steve in Milwaukee says, Todd, you disappoint me. I want to hear you rant with more passion. Not enough outrage out of you. Cutting the EPA by 75%. Dismantling the Department of Education. Cutting the NIH, USDA, FDA. Well, Steve, I was pretty passionate before the election, and some people didn't want to heed that. And I think we're still passionate today, but we talk about it a lot. But today is just one of those days when we're going to talk part of this about Ben Wickler at the bottom of the hour. So stay tuned.
Izervay can cause eye infection.
He says he's half joking, by the way.
Or increase
Only
risk of
half.
wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Winter is out and winning is in. It's our Break into Spring statewide text to win contest on your local Civic Media radio station. Your daily shot at a Chula Vista getaway, Milwaukee Brewers club level tickets, or $100 cash. And every entry gets you closer to the grand prize. A brand new Verlo Queen mattress set from Verlo and Madison, including a mattress, sheets, protector, and pillows. Download the Civic Media app from the App Store or Google Play Store. Choose your station that gets set to win starting Monday, March 24th. Get ready to break into spring with WMDX. Reviewing the week's legal news with a friend of the court.
Well, I'm looking forward to Saturday morning. I haven't missed one. Outstanding.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along with us. 9 before the hour of 1 o'clock. Coming up in hour number 2, a little what's worse for you involving risk and money. Casinos and the lottery. We'll be talking about that in hour 2. Also, at the bottom of the hour, if you want something a little more meaty in terms of politics, we have the chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, Ben Wickler, will join us via StreamYard at 1:30. Steve in Milwaukee, by the way, said he wanted more passion out of me today, more outrage. And then he said, I'm only half kidding. Well, look, I think it's appropriate that we spend a lot of time this week on a lot of serious issues, and we're going to at the bottom of the 1:30 hour as well. But also sometimes just nice to talk about things that bring us together, not always dividing us. Speaking of that, Wisconsin basketball tends to bring folks together. They are leading the Montana Grizzlies right now by a score of 21-13. 21-13 in the first half. We'll continue to update that. And again, if people are tuning in on select stations on the stream, thinking, well, I spent all season listening to the Badger basketball on the Civic Media app. Where is it? Why am I having to listen to Todd right now? I'm sorry to disappoint. It's because the NCAA and Westwood Radio, they have the exclusive streaming rights. So we're unable to stream the games now for the remainder of the season, however long that lasts in the playoffs here or in the NCAA tournament on the app. However, if you live in Richland Center, Wisconsin Rapids, or Amory, you can listen to those games live over the air, over the broadcasting channels in your local area. Otherwise, you're going to have to watch it on TNT, on your cable or YouTube or whatever. So we'll keep you updated as the game goes along. But right now, Badgers lead 21-13 over Montana in the first half. Right now, talking a little bit about Fred Rogers, who I think was influential to a lot of Americans. His birthday is today. Of course, he left us. I can't believe this. Fred Rogers died 22 years ago. But still his legacy lasts on. He was born on this date in 1928. What are your remembrances of Fred Rogers? How did he impact your life? On Wisconsin Public Television, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. A few more quotes from Fred Rogers here. Here's one. If you could only sense how important you are to the lives of those you meet, how important you can be to the people you may never even dream of, unquote. So well said. I think sometimes we look at our own lives and we get down, get depressed, but we don't stop and think how much we mean to those around us who we interact with. And we think, well, it doesn't really matter. I think that's why It's a Wonderful Life is one of my favorite movies, particularly holiday movies, because it shows us the impact we all make, even though sometimes we don't realize it. Another Fred Rogers quote for you, quote, "Love isn't a state of perfect caring. It's an active noun, like struggle. To love someone is to strive to accept that person exactly the way he or she is, right here and right now," unquote. Fred Rogers. Another great one, right? How many times do we want to try to get along with people on our terms instead of accepting whatever they're going through, the struggles that they have, and trying to understand them?
We've got another caller.
All right, very good. Robert, who we got?
We have Bill in Madison.
All right, Bill in Madison on WMDX. Thoughts on Fred Rogers? Bill, thanks for calling and listening. Go ahead.
Well, a couple things. The first was, I think, I don't know if it was the 70s or the 60s, but they were going to cut some public broadcasting money, and Fred Rogers went in front of Congress and testified, and one of the senators said, you convinced me, you changed my mind, and so he got the funding for it before they shut it down by testifying in front of Congress. And I think you can watch that on YouTube if you look it up.
I'm just going to say, yes, I've seen it on YouTube, and I would if you just Google it, Fred Rogers before Congress or something, and I encourage everybody to do it because he doesn't yell, he doesn't swear, he doesn't talk down, but he explains the benefits, and in such a way that it almost makes it irrefutable. And this congressman, this chairman of this committee, this senator, he's like, well, I'm not sure what to say to that. You convinced me. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's amazing to watch that. And I'm so glad you mentioned this because I think it's a great template of how you can actually change minds. And it's not by yelling and demeaning, but explaining the benefits in a way that people understand.
With a dash of empathy in there.
Yes, well said. With a dash of empathy, you're absolutely right. Thanks for calling. Have a great day. I appreciate you listening and calling in.
And we also have
Go ahead.
L.A. Tom on the line.
Very good. L.A. Tom out in beautiful Los Angeles, California, listening on the app. L.A., what do you have?
Hey, Todd, can I actually wait until the next hour just because it may take more longer than 1 second?
Sure. We can do that. We can do that. Yeah, just stay on the line to the break. We'll get back to you here after the top of the hour. 855-752-4842. Memories on Fred Rogers, impact he's had on your life. Here's somebody at Dave in New Berlin saying, here, probably a fun thing. Some, let's see.
There was...
I guess I misread that one. Sorry about that. What else do we have here? I guess that's pretty much it for the text line right now. I'll share a couple more quotes with you here as we get ready to wrap up things and move into hour number 2. Let's see. Love isn't a state of perfect. We already did that one. Everyone longs to be loved. And the greatest thing we could do is to let people know that they are loved and capable of loving. And finally, imagine what our real neighborhoods would be like if each of us offered, as a matter of course, just one kind word to another person. The words of Fred Rogers. Stay tuned. Hour number 2 is next. We're live at Richland Center on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You always make each day such a special day. You know how? By just your being you. Only one person in the whole world like you. That's you yourself. I'll be back next time. Bye-bye.
News and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. Teach Schwaba.
On the next Nightlight, I welcome TV host and comedian Mike Toomey, who will make the popcorn pick of the week. And then magician Lou Lepore joins me in studio for some Houdini talk. Let's light it up.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8.
Do you know or work with kids who have special healthcare needs? Help them live their best lives. Contact Wisconsin Wayfinder Children's Resource Network. Our specialists will connect you with services in your area. Wisconsin Wayfinder is free and confidential. Call 877-947-2929 or visit dhs.wi.gov/WISCWAY. Connect today. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Department of Health Services.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app. This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. a Civic Media station.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The Trump administration asking an appellate court to allow the president unilateral authority to use the Alien Enemies Act to carry out deportations. It comes as the deadline has passed for the Trump administration to provide more details to the federal judge who halted those deportation flights last weekend. The president also planning to designate land where the U.S. military could be granted new authorities to hold migrants who have crossed the border from Mexico. ABC's Mary Bruce with details.
Sources tell us that the Trump administration is
By the
considering
way,
dramatically
Tony made a reel of Trigby yesterday, and I emailed it to him. So
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
includes creating
I'm
a buffer
going to
zone
run real
along
quick.
the border that would
Right
allow
back.
military personnel to temporarily hold migrants who cross into the U.S. illegally until federal law enforcement arrives.
Powerful storms that knocked out power to the Midwest yesterday, targeting the East Coast today. Heavy winds and rain could impact major airline hubs in the Northeast. This is ABC News.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. We're now less than 2 weeks away from Election Day, and the candidates for state superintendents sparred in a forum last night. It may be the only time they debate one another. Lisa Hale breaks it down.
Incumbent Jill Underly and challenger Brittany Kinzer disagreed starkly on where Wisconsin schools are right now. Kinzer says she's running to restore standards that were lowered last year. She pledged to work with parents, increase transparency, ensure money gets into classrooms, reward great teachers, and decrease bureaucracy.
Right now, unfortunately, 3 out of 10 children are only reading well enough to go to college or have a career. And in Milwaukee, where I live, we have the worst outcomes for our Black students, with only 5% of children reading well enough to go to college or have a career.
Underly disagreed, arguing that Kinzer's claim that only 3 of 10 children are reading well enough to go to college is misleading. Underly, who's been the state superintendent since 2021, pointed to different successes during her tenure.
Wisconsin's moved from 14th in the nation for education in 2020 to 6th in 2024, and now we have the highest graduation rate in our state's history, and the progress that we've made is real. But our work isn't done.
The candidates disagreed markedly on a range of issues, from teacher pay, special education funding, challenges for Wisconsin's rural districts, diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, and expansion of vouchers and charter schools. The election is April 1st. For Civic Media, I'm Lisa Hale.
Whoever wins this election will lead Wisconsin's public schools through changes at the federal level, including the shutdown of the Department of Education. President Donald Trump signs that order today. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. This is 92.7 WMDX News.
The Brewers beat the White Sox. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Baseball, the Brewers with a 5-4 win over the Chicago White Sox. Spring training wrapping up this weekend. Opening day a week from today when the Crew opens the season in the Bronx against the New York Yankees. March Madness, the Wisconsin Badgers against Montana today in Denver. We'll have a recap after the game. Marquette is in Cleveland, where they'll face New Mexico tomorrow night. Game time 6:25. How much will making it to the tournament for a 4th year in a row help the Golden Eagles? Head coach Shaka Smart.
I think a ton. Having been through the twists and turns of the NCAA tournament, I think both the wins that we've had and also the losses we've had taught us a lot of lessons, taught those guys a lot of lessons. When you get to the NCAA tournament, it does feel different. You know, there's a lot of different things around it. Being able to normalize that feeling and understand that we've been here before, it still comes down to trying to be the best version of ourselves as a team and individually out there on the court.
That's Marquette Shaka Smart. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
Sunny and still breezy today, with winds out of the northwest keeping our highs to the mid-30s. It'll be partly sunny
29,
tomorrow,
22.
breezy, but those winds are going to warm us up to the low 50s. Few spotty sprinkles are possible late at night, but for Saturday, plenty of sunshine and highs in the mid-40s. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlau. Right now, it's 34 degrees.
Still putting off that deep clean? Let HS Pristine Clean take it off your to-do list. With over 20 years of meticulous cleaning experience, they make your home sparkle without the hassle. Call 920-932-0000 today. Why wait?
Carmelo Anthony for the Bail Project.
Bad news, you've been arrested. Good news, you're innocent until proven guilty. If you can pay your bail, good news, you go home to wait your trial. If you can't, sorry, you go to jail to wait. But sure, you still presumed innocent. But since you can't afford bail, you've lost your freedom. That's not right. And that's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
All right, got about 30 seconds.
All right, thank you.
Live from the Civic Media Studios at WRCE in Richland Center, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with our outstanding engineer and producer, Mr. Aaron Zommers. It is Thursday, the 20th of March, 2025. It is a great day to be in Wisconsinite. It is 6 past the hour of 1 o'clock. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big program. As Terry Barr said there at the top of the show, we are here in our beautiful studios at WRCE in Richland Center. Zommers is back at the world headquarters in downtown Madison because, Mr. Zommers, we are getting an upgrade, a little redo, a little recombobulation. Is that too far? Recombobulating the studios back in Madison.
I would say that's accurate. I would say they at times have been discombobulated, but now it already looks better. We got a big table in there, and right now that's all. But it's a big, complicated table, so it took a while to put that together.
It'll all be very, very nice by Monday. We thank our great engineering team of all the folks who are working on that back in Madison. But we're always happy to be here. Many thanks to the general manager of WRCE in Richland Center, Phil Nee, who will be on the program with us tomorrow, talking about some of the things that are happening here in Richland Center and about his great program on Saturday night called Those Were the Days, a great oldies call-in program, one of the few really true call-in shows left. And he actually plays a little vinyl now and again as well on that show. So I'm looking forward to having Phil with us tomorrow. Coming up a little bit later this hour today, we're going to have the chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party of Wisconsin, Mr. Ben Wickler, will be here just after the news at the bottom of the hour discussing the April 1st election. That's right. It's coming up already, no joke, on April 1st, and early voting is now underway across the state of Wisconsin. You can find out where your polling place is and how to register online by going to myvotewi.gov.
Myvote.wi.gov.
No, not say the dot, sorry, thank you. Myvote.wi.gov. Myvote.wi.gov. It's really not that complicated, Todd. myvote.wi.gov. Be a voter. Have a plan to be a voter. Of course, you can also vote in person if you would like to. Polls open on Tuesday, April 1st at 7 a.m. and close on that evening at 8 p.m. Remember, you can register at the polls on Election Day, but why not do it ahead of time? Get your vote banked, as they say, and in there and counted. You can early vote now across the state of Wisconsin. Of course, big races for Wisconsin State Supreme Court and the Department of Public Instruction, among others. We'll talk to Chairman Winkler about all of that and more at the bottom of the hour. NCAA men's basketball tournament going on right now across America, and in particular on some of our stations over the air. WRCE here in Richland Center, WFHR up in Wisconsin Rapids, and WLAK up in beautiful Amory. If you're in those communities, you can hear the game over the air right now on your radio. However, due to NCAA rules, we are not allowed to stream it on the app as per usual, but we're glad you are joining us here. Maybe do what I'm doing right now, which is talking to you and doing the show, but occasionally checking in on my phone here on the scores. Badgers have looked a little, I can tell you just by tuning in a little bit here during our commercial breaks. Badgers a bit discombobulated. But maybe Dan Schaefer is out there, Zommers. I don't know, because they're starting to get recombobulated here. Right now, Wisconsin leads 34-27 in the first half. 34-27. Number 3, Wisconsin, 34. Number 14, Montana, 27.
Not a tremendous lead, but a lead nonetheless.
Yes, not a tremendous lead. And this is what's worried me, understand. Because the Grizzlies, they're in Montana at a higher altitude, and they're playing in Denver, a higher altitude. The Badgers are coming off of this, 4 games in 4 days thing in the Big Ten tournament, and then they got to fly from Wisconsin out to a higher altitude. And Brady Ewing was telling us before or just after his segment there in the first half hour that the Badgers apparently incorporated a hyperbaric chamber in order. I'm not making this up. They did some hyperbaric chamber stuff to help them with their breathing or something.
Interesting.
We'll see if it pays off. It's now 36-27. Wisconsin leads Montana with 2 minutes and 55 seconds left in the first half. So we'll keep you apprised of that. It's 11 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock. Time once again for What's Worse. Let's go.
This or that, this or that. Then, of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this or you can get with that.
Time once again for What's Worse. No prizes to give away, no money involved, but it is your chance to have your voice heard across all 11 stations in the Civic Media News, Sports, and Talk Network all across the state of Wisconsin. Every media market. There's no better way to have your message, your voice, your company heard than by advertising with us here on the Civic Media Radio Network. Find out how by going to civicmedia.us, and you can find out how. Now, remember, we said this before the first hour. Starting on Monday, we will have prizes to give away, another text to win contest, Fling into Spring. Now, what's it called? I'm not sure. I forget the name of it. It's some cool name. But text to win, and the grand prize is a Verlo mattress, which is fantastic. You can also win a...
Break into Spring, by the way. Just like
break in,
break
not
in the new
spring,
mattress.
not there you... Break in the new mattress.
Sleep
I
on
like
it.
that. Sleep on it. Absolutely. It's not spring break. It's break into spring. That's fantastic. And so you can win $100 or chances to win $100 every day. There's chances to win a great Chula Vista getaway in Wisconsin Dells at the resort there, and also a chance to win some club level seats for the Milwaukee Brewers. Tune in starting at 7 o'clock on Monday on Civic Media and be here every day for your best chance to win at 1 o'clock every afternoon. I'm not sure if it's your best chance to win. It's a chance to win at 1 o'clock every afternoon with us. Looking forward to that in nervous anticipation. But here now, and this is timely indeed. We talked to Brady Ewing in hour number 1 about how much money is bet on the NCAA tournament. Now, I do not have any money to bet. I have no money on the line. The office pool, we don't pay in money. It's just we're in this pool, or contest, whatever you want to call it. And then the top couple of people get a nice gift certificate, which is very cool. Our own Phil Nee here at Richland Center was one of the winners, along with our advertising sales director, Chris Morrow. So those guys know a lot about basketball, or at least got lucky, and they won some nice gift cards. But a lot of people bet money this time of year. So here now, what's worse today? What's worse, casinos or the lottery? Casinos or the lottery? What's worse? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. And Dahmers, I'm back in, I'm back in the StreamYard here, so I can see if you put in the calls there in the old StreamYard chat. But
Sounds good.
855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. What's worse, casinos or the lottery? Any thoughts on that, Summers?
That is a difficult one because, both of them you're probably not going to win anything. Both of them are insidiously designed to extract as much money as possible from you. But I feel like casinos, you can at least make a trip out of it and have more fun. But I've never been to a casino, so it's hard to say.
You've never been to a casino? Really? That's
never
interesting.
Been to a casino.
All right. I haven't been to a lot, but I've been to some. And I always looked at it as, I'll take my $20 or whatever it is, and that's my spending money, my entertainment, and when it's gone, it's gone. I think that's fine. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people with addiction issues out there, and they just can't stop. And that's when people get into real trouble. Sarah, listening on WGBW, our great station in Green Bay, says casinos are evil. Whoa, there's a take for you. A listener in WAUK, when we ask casinos or the lottery, what's worse? Casinos, they control the environment to compel you to gamble.
This is true.
There you go. Some of this stuff, like out in Vegas, is very technical. The lights, they pump in certain smells, the music that they have. It's all designed to keep you there.
Yep.
Keep you there.
Temperature, the fact that there's no windows, so you don't know what time it is.
Right. What's worse, casinos or the lottery? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Give us a call if you like. What's worse, casinos or the lottery? I don't know. I don't do either one that often. Now, like when the big lotteries, the Powerball, whatever, gets up to like $700 million, I'll buy it like a couple of tickets, $4 or whatever, because I think, well, you can't, it just gives you something to talk about, right?
Especially if you have $4 to spare. There are worse ways to spend $4.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. I think, it allows you to daydream a little bit, a little vacation, a $4 vacation, and see what happens. But I don't buy it I'm not buying tickets every week, or I'm not a big scratch off person or anything like that. And casinos, like I said, I went in college when I went to UW Platteville. We went down to East Dubuque to the boat. And like I said, I take my $20-$25 and that was it. I've been to Vegas a couple of times, and I'm not a big Vegas person. I guess in fairness, I've never done the shows, and I think I would enjoy that, like the performances. But just the big casinos to gamble, not really my thing. Now, the Wisconsin casinos, I've been to a couple of those, like Ho-Chunk and Oneida and Red Cliff, and they're actually the one. In my view, in my personal opinion, not that I've been to a lot of them, but the nicest casino that I've ever been in is Red Cliff up above Bayfield up there, the casino up there. Again, it's beautiful, and you can look out onto the lake in part of it on Lake Superior. They have a beautiful hotel. They have campsites there. It's actually really nice, and I think it's no smoking. And they have nice. They have some really good food as well to just chill, look at the lake.
How loud are the casinos in Wisconsin?
I haven't been to a lot, but I mean, the ones that I've been to weren't overly noisy. But here's the thing. I was a slot guy. So you put your nickel in or your quarter or whatever it is, and you pull the slot. And then you'd get a couple other quarters or a couple other nickels or whatever. And I liked the sound. Now they've taken the lever away and the actual coins, and it's just all like a computer game.
Yes, that's one of the reasons I haven't been to casinos, is because I feel like the coolest thing to experience would be pulling the lever, and I can't do that.
Exactly. What's worse, casinos or the lottery? 855-752-4842. Come on back. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for a Thursday on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Tony Zimmerman watching on YouTube says, my parents used to joke they'd have to be really lucky to win the lottery because it meant they found the ticket, because they for sure weren't buying one. Honestly, probably the right move.
That's pretty funny, actually. That's really funny, Tony.
Hear it from Schimmel himself. When asked about abortion, he said,
we have to shut
I think I have to say casinos are worse just because, well,
when asked about Wisconsin's abortion ban,
gambling
which
is dangerous.
Doesn't include exceptions for rape, incest, or help of the mother,
the 1849 ban on abortions, which, by the way, what is flawed about that law?
When I worked at CVS, a lot of my coworkers enjoyed scratch offs.
Oh,
So
really?
I bought a couple. I got a $30 scratch off and won $60 from it. And I was like, all right, I'm stopping now. Came out ahead.
That's funny.
Tell Judge Brad Schimmel, keep extremist politics out of our court decisions. Call 262-548-7548. That's 262-548-7548. Paid for by A Better Wisconsin Together Incorporated.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. Folks, we've got to talk about Derek Van Orden. The second-term congressman representing Wisconsin's 3rd District is at it again, dodging public meetings and making all kinds of unhinged comments.
All right, we'll come back and we'll take Tom's call.
The chaos of what's happening in Washington,
LA, if you're listening, we'll come back. And if you want to go back to Mr. Rogers, that's fine.
As frustrating and disrespectful as ever. In one instance, Van Orden took to social media to berate a veteran who had been fired from his job at the VA by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. And the veteran in question is simply someone who was just reaching out to his congressman, looking for answers. Van Orden's office has also hastily canceled public meetings, and he has made some especially wild accusations about people who have been attending these.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 21 now past the hour, 1 o'clock on Thursday, the 20th. By the way, it's the first day of spring. We'll talk a little bit about that later as well. We are live here at WRCE, the studios in Richland Center, Wisconsin, of Civic Media, while our home studio, where Mr. Zommers is getting a little makeover. Dan Schaefer's in charge. He's going to recombobulate our studios back home. So looking forward to that.
I think that may be news to him, but
halftime of the Wisconsin-Montana game as third-seeded Wisconsin leads 14th-seeded Montana by a score of 40-32. Wisconsin 40, Montana 32 at the half. It is all but all over as Creighton is leading Louisville by a score of 83-71. Louisville has come back and tried to make a game of it, but a little over a minute left as it looks like Louisville will lose to Creighton, number 9 beating number 8 there. Also, this is very interesting indeed in the second half. And Purdue is leading High Point, number 4 seeded, I should say, Purdue leading 13th seeded High Point 56-50. Purdue only a 6-point lead on High Point with a little over 9 minutes to go in that one. And number 1 seeded Houston 27, SIU Edwardsville 9. With about 9 minutes to go in the first half there. Again, Wisconsin leads Montana by a score of 40-32 at the half. You can listen to that Badger game on select stations in Civic Media Land. Over the air, we're not able to stream it, but if you're in Richland Center, Wisconsin Rapids, or Amory, you can hear those games over the air. That game, I should say, the Wisconsin game. Let's go back to the phone lines, 855-752-4842. Talking about a couple of things right now. We're right in the middle of what's worse today. What's worse, casinos or the lottery? And also a little bit earlier was talking about the fact that today was Mr. Rogers' birthday. Fred Rogers of the incomparable Mr. Rogers neighborhood. Los Angeles we go. And L.A. Tom. L.A., you want to talk a little bit about Fred Rogers. What do you have?
Yeah, so Todd, there's something that's been kind of, hate to take Luke's stuff here, but grinding my gears.
Okay.
And that is that people keep saying and throwing around words like far left and left, liberal. I'm just trying to figure out. No one gives examples of what they mean when they say far left or middle of the road, or I kind of think I know what right means. Right to me is more corporate. But like I said, these words get thrown around a lot. And I think there's a misconception out there that the Democratic Party is solely focused on like LGBTQ plus rights, which is further from the truth. I don't think Kamala Harris ever mentioned LGBTQ plus in any of her speeches. She talked about a $50,000 break on people's homes, first-time home buyers. She talked about businesses having, different things like this that were policy ideas. But when the Republicans are constantly, they're the ones that are obsessed with LGBTQ plus rights or LGBTQ plus, because every commercial that they have, you would think that that is the only policy that progressives talk about. And I, like I said, I'm getting tired of the fact that people saying, oh, these far left, Democrats are really focused on the far left agenda. What's that? Medicare, Social Security, strengthening it? Because that to me is what far left means. Now I wanted to ask you, because I know that you were conservative, or you are, and again, there's social issues, there's financial different things. But my sister even said the other day, she said, I'm a middle of the road independent. And I go, what do you mean by middle of the road independent? Because the pendulum has shifted so far. Barack Obama and Bill Clinton were probably more right of Eisenhower even. So can you help me with this? Because it really, really bothers me that people can just throw things out like this and they don't really explain what.
We can talk. I mean, we'll talk more about this after the break with Ben Wickler, the chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, who's going to join us. I thought we were talking about Fred Rogers, Tom. That's why I went to your call. But I think. Well, number one, I was a member, for those that don't know, of the Republican Party up until 2011 when I left the party, and I voted Democratic ever since, just because I think that's the only major party left that truly believes in action and deed in democracy, small d. I think that the labels get thrown around. I think to a point you're correct, loosey-goosey, but I also think it depends on an individual's perception of what those things might mean something different to other people. I mean, to me, when I say far left, it's people, we have a small number, I would say, but we have members, 5-6 members of the Wisconsin state legislature who are Democrats, who spend a lot of time, in my opinion, trying to be federal Congress people. There's nothing that the state assembly or Senate can do on Palestine or Gaza, but yet they want to go out and make that a key issue. It's fine to speak out on it, but not to be using that as your main calling card for a lot of these things. When Kamala Harris came to Wisconsin and was talking about kitchen table issues, they were interrupting her and saying, from the river to the sea, an anti-Semitic anti-Semitic slogan, and shouting her down. To me, that is the extreme left. If you can't support Kamala Harris, a viable candidate who could have won for Democrats, then that to me is far left. And those folks and part of that, much of that group, also in Dearborn, Michigan, who said we're not going to vote in this election because we want to send a message to Kamala Harris. The same people that voted for Jill Stein in 2016. Well, Hillary Clinton needs to be sent a message. 23,000 people in Wisconsin voted for Jill Stein. Donald Trump won Wisconsin by approximately 23,000 votes. So to me, that is the far left. They're not pragmatic. They don't really care about winning elections. They'd rather lose and be right, in their opinion, than actually be pragmatic and win elections. That went off the rails a little bit, but we'll try to get back on the rails when we come back. Chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, Ben Wickler, joins us. Stay tuned. We're live from Richland Center on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Conversation 92.7 WMDX. Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun.
Well, that isn't where I thought we were going.
Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
But that's fine. I guess it leads into our next thing.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. An apartment building was struck by lightning in yesterday's storms. It happened on Modern Point Lane, which is on the west side near Middleton. When firefighters got there, they saw at least 3 spots where the lightning hit. There was a fire on the roof, but luckily, it didn't make it inside. There were people home at the time. Nobody was hurt. But one person was stuck in the elevator when the strike caused power to go out. Of course, firefighters rescued them. Now the property managers are working with residents to help them find another place to stay. Meanwhile, a local bakery is closed today after someone drove right into the store. A car crashed into Gigi's Cupcakes at Hilldale Mall last night. Staff say luckily no one was hurt and nobody was at the front of the shop when it happened. They're closed today as they evaluate the damage. The owner says they hope to open up tomorrow. And the biggest race on the ballot in a couple weeks is for Wisconsin Supreme Court.
I used to go there occasionally.
It's technically nonpartisan, but the lines are pretty clearly
like
drawn. Elon Musk
Jasmine,
has poured millions
one of the
into backing Waukesha County Judge Brad
press
Schimmel.
people who
Musk's
was
company
working
Tesla
with
is
Ben
suing the state of
Whitmer is
Wisconsin
here.
for denying its request for dealer's licenses. And that case could very well reach the High Court. UW-Madison professor Michael Wagner says because Wisconsin allows justices to decide
Mr. Chairman, how are you?
Good to see you, Todd.
As the kids say, long time no talk.
Good to be back. Yet another apocalyptic mega hailstorm of an election coming up in 12 days and counting.
Only that. Only that.
It's the usual. It's Wisconsin. What are we going to do? How are you doing?
Any particular song you want to have coming in?
Oh, Wisconsin by Loxley.
Oh, all right. Very nice. He'll dial it up. Yeah. We're here in Richland Center because the main studio is being remodeled. So
it's nice to hear.
Yeah, get in a new table.
My wife and I have a home renovation plan for right after the election. So
really,
goal 1 is to win. Goal 2 is to win by enough that there's not a recount.
Ben has remodeling to do in Wisconsin. Please turn out.
Exactly. Well, no one think of the poor state party chair.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, we'll start out with the races, of course, and then we could get into a little. Do we have you till 10 till then, or?
Yeah.
All right. Very good.
You got 2 minutes.
All right. Anything specifically you want to make sure I talk about or we bring up?
Well, I think there's an interesting thing. There's obviously the Musk piece, the abortion piece, but there's an interesting thing now where the Musk PAC has put out a memo calling on Schimmel to embrace MAGA harder as the key to their re-election strategy. And they think that Schimmel is down. And so there's an interesting thing of like, will that turn out more Republican voters? Or will it turn out net more Democratic voters? It's not like Democrats are feeling good about Trump these days.
Right. Well, see, like I got. Well, we just talked about it on the thing, but I was in Shawano last weekend at my dad's, and I mean they're putting this door hanger. They actually were canvassing, and I think they want it to be a referendum on Trump.
The Republicans do. That's their whole strategy.
Right. By the way, Trigby says hello.
Hi to Trigby.
I told him you were coming on today. So tell Ben hi. I said I will.
Tony on YouTube says, Derek Van Orden just commented on a post from Pat complaining that he was not one of the first, but the first to call for impeaching judges who disagree with Trump. Thank you. Anyway, on that note, we have 20 seconds.
All right. to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 34 minutes now past the hour of 1 o'clock on this first day of spring. It is Thursday, March 20th, 2025. Glad to be with you on location at WRCE in Richland Center, the old hometown, while our home studio back in Madison gets a little refresh as Amers is back there. By the way, Wisconsin Badgers are at halftime right now in their first round game of the NCAA. They lead the Montana Grizzlies by a score of 40-32. Again, it's Wisconsin 40, Montana 32 at halftime right now. You can hear those games on select stations. The second half across Wisconsin and Richland Center, Wisconsin Rapids, and Amory. We're not allowed to stream it, so you have to listen to it on the air. But the game is not resumed. It is a perfect time to talk about politics during halftime of the game. And for that, we are joined live via StreamYard by the chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, Ben Wickler. Chairman Wickler, great to have you back on the show. Thanks for coming.
Great to be with you. This is 12 days out from the biggest election in the first 2/3 of the year in the country. Certainly the biggest in Wisconsin, and in the middle of the game. A lot going on.
Lots going on indeed. Wisconsin, if they lose and they go home, and it occurs to me in this race coming up on April 1st, no joking, folks, there is an election on April 1st. For a lot of folks in Wisconsin, again, explain to folks why this race is so important in terms of the lasting effects until the next game-changing Supreme Court justice. This one, we lose this one. We, in terms, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but independent, but we, the people of Wisconsin, if this one goes the wrong way, it is kind of go home on a lot of these issues.
It's a huge deal because whoever wins casts the deciding vote in 4-3, tight decisions in the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And there's a lot of 4-3 decisions. We're awaiting decisions on issues like whether the pre-Civil War abortion ban from 1849 goes into effect in the state of Wisconsin, or whether there's a constitutional right to be able to access abortion care. Decisions about Act 10 and workers' rights, and whether public sector workers have the right to organize. This is also a Supreme Court that ruled 4-3 against overturning the presidential election. So if we get a redux and we have a MAGA majority in the Supreme Court, there's real questions around whether elections will be overturned and legitimate ballots thrown out. And all this is coming to a head because Brad Schimmel, the Republican-backed candidate, he's running to be, as he put it, Trump's support network. He's saying Trump keeps losing in courts, which I'd say is because Trump keeps breaking the law. He wants to give him a get-out-of-jail-free card. And same thing apparently for Elon Musk, who's now put $13.2 million into the election. And on the other side, you have Susan Crawford, who is someone, she represented Planned Parenthood in court when she was in private practice in a case called Planned Parenthood versus Brad Schimmel. But she's somebody who will just apply the law and the Constitution. And that's all any of us should want. You don't want a MAGA thumb on the scale or any other thumb. You want justices who actually, do the job and think about what it is that the law and the Constitution require.
You bring up this, I would call what Schimmel is talking about here as an activist judge. And back in the days when I used to be a Republican, I left in 2011, but back in the days when I was part of that party, Republicans used to fight against activist judges. They say, we want judges that interpret the law, the Constitution as it's written. And now it seems in 2025 that is completely reversed, where now you have, I've got a piece here in front of me right now. I was in Shawano with my dad and stepmoms over the weekend, where Republicans are putting stuff out with Donald Trump. I'm holding up here to the camera for those watching on the StreamYard, putting Trump's face right on there. It says, President Trump is winning for our country. And it says, liberal judges across the country are trying to stop them. Vote April 1st for Brad Schimmel to keep President Trump's agenda moving forward. I don't see how more closely you can be in bed with someone other than that. That seems against the grain of what the Republican Party used to stand for.
100%. And Schimmel is like tripling down on this stuff. He posed in front of a 20-foot tall inflatable Trump statue. He's doing events with Donald Trump Jr. This is full MAGA. And Elon Musk's organization, but Musk has poured more than any donor has ever given in a Wisconsin Supreme Court election into helping Brad Schimmel in this race. Elon Musk's group put out a memo today saying that Schimmel should embrace MAGA even harder. And it's, I can only assume that he's going to do that. This is like advertising nakedly that you're going to take one side or the other in what is supposed to be a nonpartisan court that's supposed to be a check or balance against an out-of-control executive branch if that ever should happen. It is really a defiance of the basic idea of a constitutional democracy. people fight and die for American freedom on the basis that we swear an oath in this country to the Constitution, not to a king. It is not to one person. It is to the American system of government, the American idea. That's what the flag is supposed to stand for. And Trump and Schimmel and Musk, they're trying to impeach judges that are getting in their way. They're just like trying to run completely out of control and trample the basic idea of American democracy. And that to me is a cause for alarm. It's also a reason why it's so critical to vote in this election, because this is our one chance to win and say that we've had enough. And the whole country is watching to see whether we've had enough or whether this kind of extremism is going to be embraced in states like Wisconsin, in which case it'll continue.
We're talking to Ben Wickler, the chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party. Mr. Chairman, keep me honest. I've talked about this on the show for a little while, about part of what you just said. I agree. I think that Republicans want this to be a referendum on Donald Trump, and to maybe a lesser degree Elon Musk, but certainly for Donald Trump. My concern is that there are not enough Wisconsinites yet who have felt personally, or someone that they know have felt personally, the effects of Trump's policies. And so, there is a thought out there that Republicans want this to be a high turnout election, particularly in the 3rd District in western Wisconsin, to get Trump voters who may not normally vote in the spring election out on April 1st. And that is going to propel Brad Schimmel onto the Supreme Court. Is there anything to that in your opinion?
That's the Republican strategy. It is very, very simple and direct. They want this to be, they want the equivalent of Trump on the ballot so they can get people who support Trump, voted for Trump, don't vote normally in midterms or Supreme Court races to turn out. And the question for everyone who does not think that our state's highest court should be in the tank for whatever law that Trump and Musk want to break, and Musk, by the way, appears to have broken the law in this campaign by spending money through an organization that didn't file their campaign disclosure forms. If you don't think that we should just let Trump get away with whatever he wants, then it's important to have turnout on the other side too. If you poll Wisconsinites right now, poll nationally, Trump is actually not popular. He's unpopular. He's more people who disapprove of what he's doing than support. But the critical thing is for people who are, just want to turn off the news because they find it so stressful, what's happening, the attacks on Social Security, the attacks on the Veterans Administration. Folks who want to tune out national news need to tune in to this race, because this race is going to have huge consequences, and it'll send a message about whether we've had enough and whether we're able to fight back. If you think that our Supreme Court should be independent, if you don't think we should have an abortion ban from before the Civil War, if you don't think the Supreme Court should use a rubber stamp for Trump instead of a gavel to rule on issues, you've got to support Susan Crawford and recruit people to go to the polls, because you should assume that folks who are diehard, they want to just clear the decks for Trump to do whatever he wants, that they will vote in huge numbers, because that's exactly what Musk's millions are telling them they should do. So this is go time, and expect high turnout on both sides. We're already seeing explosive early vote numbers. We should expect this to be another nail biter like 2019 that came down to less than half a percentage point. And that means if you cast a ballot, your vote could be the one that decides the outcome of this election.
I was talking to my former boss, one of my former bosses, former Senate Majority Leader Dale Schultz from Richland Center here. A Republican, but he endorsed Tony Evers in his original election. And of course, he endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris against Trump in the fall. So, he's a guy who is still, I would say, a conservative, but he is endorsing Democrats because he believes in that they're the party that's going to help small d democracy. Here's a question for you, Chairman. What we were talking about is why aren't, and I know you don't speak for the entire Democratic Party or Susan Crawford, but I guess as a person out here in Southwest Wisconsin, we all know, or certainly the polling, that what Trump did in pardoning the January 6th insurrectionists is a no-brainer. It's like a 70-80%. People are opposed to that. Derek Van Orton, the congressman out here, and Brad Schimmel is on record. His voice is on record saying he thinks the January 6th insurrection has got a raw deal. Does it concern you that Democratic candidates or Susan Crawford, who is endorsed by Democrats, isn't playing that up? I don't understand why there aren't TV ads or whatever saying Brad Schimmel is protecting insurrectionists who attacked cops. We want to back the blue. We think that people who attack cops should go to jail.
There are folks for whom this is incredibly important. And of course, it is a really important issue. And yet the folks who are most concerned about that, they're generally the people paying the most attention, who are the most likely to already have a plan to go out and vote. The people who are only kind of on the fence about whether to cast a ballot, a lot of those folks are more concerned about the possibility of a total abortion ban because it'll go right into their lives, even if they don't want to think about politics every day, than about these kind of broader questions about democracy itself. So I think people who listen to this show are probably people who, whether they're Democrats, Republicans, or independents like you, they care a lot about democracy, and hearing about the stakes for democracy can be really powerful. But if you're someone who just wants politics to stay out of your life, and you think, maybe you think democracy is pretty broken as it is, then it's the times when politicians kind of, leave the halls of power, leave the Capitol, and go and get into your bedroom and to your doctor's exam room that cause the most concern. And I think that's a lot of why you see ads on TV about abortion and about crime, Republicans, and Susan Crawford making cases about public safety, because that's the kind of thing that the least political folks still think about sometimes. I do think that this additional piece about whether, Elon Musk, the world's richest person, who's just destroying the Social Security Administration, wants to privatize the Postal Service, ending child cancer research, whether he should be able to come in and buy a seat for Brad Schimmel, who there's a recording of him saying that he had to buy knee pads at Menards because he's crawling around on his knees saying, please, please, please fund my campaign. If you don't think that's how our politics should be, and certainly how our judicial system should be, I do think there's an argument that this is time to say enough is enough and vote against Brad Schimmel. But there's a bunch of issues in this race. Every one of them points to Susan Crawford instead of Schimmel. And I think your point about the insurrection is true. We don't want to pardon people who attacked police officers as they tried to trample and overturn a national election. And Brad Schimmel seems to be fine with that.
A couple of minutes left here, about 2.5 minutes left, Mr. Chairman. I would love to have you back because I respect you so much, and I think that you've done for Wisconsin more than maybe anybody else recently in politics and helping get good people elected. I was deeply disappointed that the National Democrats chose someone else as the national chairman. I think you would have done a fantastic job, and that's because you listen. You travel the state and listen. And I think there's a lot of people where I'm sitting right now in rural Wisconsin who feel like they're not listened to enough, particularly from the Democratic side. As you move forward, Mr. Chairman, what can Democrats do, not just in this election, moving forward, to connect better with voters, particularly in rural areas?
I think showing up and listening is step one. And step two is you got to act. So we've been doing town halls. We did a town hall in Sauk City. We did another one in Waukesha, another one in Eau Claire. We're listening to folks, hearing about what they're concerned about, what their fears are, what their hopes are. And then you got to go out and fight. Most Republicans, most Democrats, most independents, they want to be able to get health care when they're sick, and they think their kids should be able to do the same thing. They want to retire with dignity without Social Security phone service being shut off, as apparently Musk wants to do. And these are things where Democrats should be loud and proud and advocate, because they're what people are asking for. People are asking for Democrats to fight back and to be a shield against these kinds of attacks. And they shouldn't be cowed into fear or submission by the world's richest man flooding the zone with TV ads. These are things where most of us agree, and standing up for common sense values that most Americans hold no matter where they live. That is, I think, what a Democratic Party at its best can do. That's the tradition of fighting Bob LaFollette. That's a tradition, himself a Republican. That's something that we need to do today in the Democratic Party.
About a minute and a half left here. Time always goes fast. Chairman Wickler, is there anything I haven't asked you or we haven't talked about you want to make sure that Wisconsin knows before this April 1st election?
Well, here's the big thing. Voting is open now. You can register when you get to the polls. If you haven't registered, if you've moved, you can update your registration, bring your photo ID, bring your proof of address. Go and cast a vote for Susan Crawford. I would argue for Jill Underly for state superintendent for another term. There are down ballot races as well in lots of parts of the state, but don't wait on this thing. There may be another snowstorm on April 1st. Recruit friends to do it. Make a list of people who who may or may not vote. Text through them. These elections can come down to a hair's breadth. You look at 2019, 2011 Supreme Court race, also for the majority, they came down to less than one vote per precinct across the state. So if you recruit one friend to come vote with you, that could be the margin where you are. And if we do that across the state of Wisconsin, Susan Crawford wins, democracy wins, and we have a chapter that actually brings hope to this country, which sorely needs it right now.
Ben Wickler, the DNC's loss was Wisconsin's gain. I'm glad to have you back at the helm. Glad to have you here in Wisconsin. Thanks for joining us. You're welcome anytime.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Ben Wickler, everybody, the chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party. Come on back. We'll wrap things up for Richland Center after this on the Civic Media Radio Network. Thanks, Ben. Always appreciate your honesty. Thanks for the opportunity to have a real discussion. I really, really, really appreciate that.
No, thanks so much for having me on, and thanks for your kind words. I appreciate
Hey,
it, dude.
anytime, anytime. I like to refer to the guy that won now as my least favorite Martin. So there you go. All right, have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye.
We have two people on the line. Ollie in the Northwoods.
Oh, great.
Wanted to go back to what's worse if you still want to do that.
Sure, we'll do that.
Dale in Wausau wanted to talk about Social Security and reiterate just how important of an issue that is for everybody, but for people in our state.
Okay, we can do that. Thank you.
Varied from a high of
Jean from Eau Claire also called in while you and Ben were talking and said that she's gotten 9 flyers for Brad Schimmel and none for Susan Crawford so far.
Wow, that's interesting.
And black voters at 2.5%. They also found that non-native English speakers were 47% more likely to have ballots rejected. Signature issues can often be cured, but many voters don't or can't correct it. The auditors recommended outreach programs on college campuses, sending letters and calling voters with curable signature issues, more training on signature verification,
Thank you.
opening early.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 9 before the hour of 1 o'clock. At the top of the hour, ABC or CBS News, depending upon which of our great stations you're listening to across the Civic Media Radio Network. And then a check of weather and sports with our own Mike Clemens. Well, Clemens just does sports. But wouldn't it be great if Mike Clemens did weather as well? He'd be great. There's nothing that Mike Clemens cannot do. I'm serious about that. He's a great guy and a talented broadcaster. But no, we have a weather, and then we have a little sports with our own Mike Clemens. And then it's Maggie Dawn across Wisconsin, the Maggie Dawn Show every afternoon from 2 until 4, followed by the Dom Salvia Show and Pete Schwaba and Nightlight. Another great fine program as well. A little update for you. It is Wisconsin 59 and Montana 47 now. Well, I think it was like around 12 minutes to go. So Wisconsin maintains the lead. They just went to a commercial break there on the old television. But Wisconsin continues to lead Montana in the NCAA game. And remember, you can listen.
Growing.
Lead's growing, so that's good news. Hopefully Wisconsin can move on to the next round out there in Denver. You can listen to that game live on WRCE in Richland Center, WFHR in Wisconsin Rapids, and WLAK in Amory. There is no stream, not allowed to stream the NCAA games. Let's do a little cleanup in aisle 2. Lots to get to here. The last segment here before the top of the hour. Go back to the phone lines here. I know Ollie's been waiting in the North Woods. Ollie, you wanted to comment, I believe, on our what's worse today, casinos or the lottery. Do you have an opinion on what's worse, Ollie, casinos or the lottery?
Well, I've only been to the casinos a few times, and like you, I take a little bit of money, and when that's gone, I'm done. But I just think that the casinos are much worse because when you get up from a stool and the next person that quickly grabs that stool sits down and wins, you have to kick yourself all night long. Whereas if you buy a lottery ticket and the next person behind you in line gets the winning lottery, you never know.
Right. That's a good point. That's a good point. I've seen that before. I'm not sure if it's ever happened to me, but particularly the old slot machines where you had to pull the handle. Yeah, you'd sit there and plug it for 20 minutes and put, $15, $20 worth of nickels in. You'd walk away and the next person sits down, boom, jackpot. That's great. I appreciate it, Ollie. Thank you so much. Have a great day up there in the North Woods. Appreciate you listening and hanging on. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Let's go to beautiful Wausau, WXCO, Bull Falls Radio. Dale, standing by in Wausau, listening there. Dale, you wanted to bring up one of the political topics, I believe. Go ahead.
Yes. I have something to say about Social Security. Social Security is not an entitlement as it has been called. It is a savings account. Let's call it the Social Security Savings Account, the triple SA. The Trump administration and Musk are trying to commandeer our accounts. Our personal Social Security savings account number for our savings accounts is better known as our Social Security number. Everyone across the country has been putting money throughout our lives into our personal Social Security savings accounts. What the Trump administration is doing is no different than your bank zeroing out your bank savings account, telling you they are taking, i.e. stealing your savings account money because they want to build a new bank or give a big windfall to their bank president and their president's oligarchs.
Yeah.
The Trump administration is also saying that it is a Ponzi scheme. No, it is a personal Social Security savings account, plain and simple.
Yeah, appreciate the call. Thank you so much, Dale. No, you're right. I mean, it's something we all pay into over our course of our lives, and we've earned that right. They're called I always think of it when it's called an entitlement account. It means that we're entitled to get our money back. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, you're absolutely right that these are things that we pay into and you expect it to be there. And again, I think a lot of the politically sexy or clickbait, as they say, things that are just outrageous, whether it's attacking Greenland or whatever, that is meant to be a distraction for these direct assaults on programs that we have paid into and are entitled to, such as Social Security or Medicaid and Medicare. And the fact that Trump and Musk and the MAGA Republicans in Congress are trying to cut those in order to provide large tax breaks to the multi-billionaires, as if those folks needed any more money. But that's going to be the real grift here, the real steal, the real robbery. And that's why we have to remain vigilant as we continue on. And by the way, many thanks to Chairman Ben Wickler for coming on the show. And there's a guy, Mr. Zommers, who doesn't mind a real question or a tough question. And, he doesn't give us talking points beforehand. He just says, I'm going to come on. We're going to have a conversation. And I appreciate that about him so much.
Oh, absolutely. It's refreshing.
It really is refreshing. And I appreciate Chairman Wickler coming on. And to his point, that's part of why this Supreme Court race in particular matters so much on April 1st. Because the courts right now are the final guardrail on democracy. If you don't like these attempts to steal money that we put into, whether it's Social Security or something else, if you're concerned that there's overreach by the executive branch or the legislative branch, that the judiciary, judges, whether it's state or federal, who look at the law and interpret it directly are vitally important. And that's why, look, like I say, I'm an independent these days. But I'm voting for Susan Crawford on April 1st. You can guarantee that. Great show today. Appreciate everybody being there here, including Ben Wickler, the chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, Brady Ewing, for our own Richland Center here, and former Wisconsin Badger. Mr. Zomer is doing yeoman's work down there in Madison. We'll be back here at Richland Center tomorrow. Don't miss it. It's going to be a great time. Phil Nee from Richland Center will be our guest then. Badgers are still in the lead right now. Hopefully they can pull out a win, whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in. Do not give up. We'll see you tomorrow on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Adios. Bye-bye.